How are we doing this afternoon? Good. Wow. I walk into this room and I just felt the energy. So this is very exciting because we're finally having an in-person event despite everything going on in the world. So this is very exciting. Definitely, I'm so used to Zoom, so, forgive me if I get nervous. So today I will be giving a presentation about the interaction that we have within the Student Senate and Student Body Association. So I'm going to be talking about how we work together, within the state level and the local level. We're no different. We have different missions, we do different work, but at the end of the day, the one thing that we have in common is that we advocate for students, right? That we have the good of the student in our mind all the time. So we're going to start with the first one. What is the Student Senate for California Community Colleges? That's the number one question that we get. And you're probably asking right now, who is hosting this event today? Well, the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So we're different from a student government in the sense that we have, incorporated, meaning that we are a nonprofit. And where do we get our funding? Through the student representative fee. Just like, your student government gets funding from, your fees, so do we. And we represent 2.1 million students. That is a lot of students. That is more than Vermont, more than Connecticut, Rhode Island. We're essentially, if you measure the population that we have in our system, we would be like our own little state. And then through our organization, the SSCCC, we are able to provide a platform to have a formal and effective opportunity to participate in state policy, legislation, and a lot of the policies and legislation that we work with do have a significant impact on students, whether it's through basic needs, menstrual equity, student empowerment, enfranchisement. So we're going to go to the next slide. So our mission is to pursue policies that will, one, improve student success. Number two, promote student access, promote student success, engage and empower local student leaders, and enrich the collegiate experience. So the way that our mission really is broken down to is through three pillars that we have that we work on. So the first one is system participatory governance. Raise your hand if you know what shared governance is. And if you don't know, I can guarantee you that by the end of this conference, you're going to know and you're going to want to join. So system participatory governance is similar to shared governance. So we provide recommendations on policy decisions. So the organization or the agency that oversees our system, all of our community colleges, is the chancellor's office. Think about it like the principal's office. And then that is where us leaders within the SSCCC, we walk in and we're like, yeah, that's not really going to help students. Yeah, it's a temporary solution, but I think we need something more. Or that's what our students are asking for. So that is how we make recommendations. What kind of recommendations are we doing right now? So one of the things that we're working with at Chancellor's office is pass or no pass. Raise your hand if you know what pass or no pass is, grading. Yeah, so with the pandemic, we saw that, taking some classes online is hard. And then, add a pandemic, add anxiety, add mental health, is a lot to take in. So there was some flexibility from the state level on pass or no pass because, in previous years, you were only able to take pass or no pass before 30% of completion of your course. But now, since we're working with the Chancellor's office on that, something that we're working on is that you're able to take pass or no pass. You can request it until the last day of your course. So there's a huge difference. And then we also appoint students to shared governance committees. So we share governance with academic senate, faculty, chancellor's office. The other one is legislative and policy advocacy. It's a lot. It's a lot of advocating. Oh, thank you. I didn't do it right now, though. Let me put it right here. They brought me a Pepsi. Perfect timing. So legislative and policy advocacy, as you can see right here, we introduce and sponsor legislature. We're not just a bunch of students, advocating. We really do have a seat at the table. We introduce bills. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking a few more about the bills that we're working on. And then we also act as the voice of students at the Capitol in Sacramento. So, once the legislation session begins, so we're actually going to be traveling, advocating, and all of that. Lastly, we analyze and advocate for legislative measures that are affecting students. So we, once legislators start introducing legislation, we're going to take them in. We analyze them. We see, is this going to improve students? Is this going to harm students? And then we take a position. And that is how we advocate. Lastly, regional support and development. So this is, one of the things that we do, and really how our system is structured is that we have regions. So raise your hand if you've been to a region delegate assembly meeting. So you probably have an idea, and if you don't, the way that we engage, because we have 2.1 million students, and it's really hard to communicate with over 1 million students. We're lucky if we interact with 100 because of the pandemic. But the way that we do it is that we have our regions, and each region has leadership, and they hold their own meetings. So we have region 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10, and it's according to demographics. So right now, we're in region 8. And our neighbors are region 7, which is the LA area, and then region 9, which is the Inland Empire. And what do we do through our regions? Well, first of all, we engage students in conversations about current issues. We empower students through policy development. What does that mean? That, once we start seeing that, a policy or legislation will improve students, the academic journey of our students, then that is where we're going to work with you. We're going to invite you, like, hey, do you want to come to our legislative visit with this assembly member? Hey, can you make a public comment at your board of trustees? Or, hey, can you sign a petition for us? That is how we're going to engage. And like I said, we have 10 regions, and each region has leadership. The point of contact is the regional affairs director. So if you're a regional affairs director in this meeting, raise your hand. See, we have a lot of our leaders here. We have a lot of our regional affairs director in the house, and they are the point of contact. So if you have any questions about the region, those are the folks that you're going to. And SBAs, student body associations, play a critical role in our organization because you tell us what is going on in the system. You tell us what our students are going through. You tell us, what are the concerns that our students are facing. So it is through you that we're able to develop our priorities, and we're able to know, what is going on in our system. So how can we work together? That is the gold question. And I really want you to think about it. How can we work together beyond, whatever is on here? But how can we have a meaningful relationship? Oftentimes our, that we're here, but we don't necessarily, have conversations. And this year I really, as president, I made it my mission to make sure that that we're here for you. And that, we want to know that you're there for us too. It is a two-way street. A lot of the work that you do could really impact the work that we're doing in the state level, and the work that we do is going to impact you. So we need communication. So how can we work together? So advocate on the local and statewide level. So once we start identifying those legislative measures, we're going to, through our regions, we're going to, give that information. And we want you to know, we want you to tell us, is this something that, is going to improve your students? Because we have 116 community colleges. And each campus has a different environment, they have different issues, different concerns. So we want to hear from you. Also provide input. We want to hear what is going on your campus. We want to hear what you want from us. And then serve as a conduit between state policymakers and local students. So a lot of the times, legislators in your area don't want to hear from us. They don't want to hear from the state level. They want to hear from you. A perfect example was when we were advocating for voting rights for student trustees, and specifically in my district. I live in Riverside, so the Riverside area. Assembly member Jose Medina wanted to hear from local students. They didn't want to hear from anyone else. They want to hear from local students. So that is where you come in. And then the way that we also interact is through delegates. I want to see, let's see, who are the delegates, and are there any delegates here? Raise your hand if you're a delegate. Oh, we have, awesome. So delegates play a critical role. I was a delegate from my college, Riverside City College. And the role of the delegate is to, first of all, attend and actively participate in our meetings. We're going to give a lot of information to the delegate. And the role of the delegate is to get that information and bring it back to the Student Body Association. Report on it. Be like, hey, this is what's going on. There's this bill, Bill 1111. This is what it's gonna do. Also, hey, we're gonna have the SSCCC is gonna have professional development. This is what they're gonna do. Do we want to attend? That is the kind of engagement that the delegate will do. Also, provide a monthly report. So we also want to hear what you're doing. We want to hear, what fun events is your campus doing. But also, what are you doing to address a lot of the concerns that your students are having? And then lastly, soliciting information. So going back to that principle that, communication, that is how we are able to know what is going on your campus. So that's the end of my presentation. Feel free to follow us on social media. We have an Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.